It started with today's quote. This one's by Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Ooh. Sacrifice that he's willing to
make. I saw that the other day. I was laughing. I was like, that's a good movie.
That movie is full of zingers throughout.
He's like, oh man, you smell that brimstone? I was like, no, brimstone ain't come from no stone either.
Yeah, dude. Eddie Murphy, another classic animated performance by Eddie Murphy, dude.
Did you break with? You just fart in my face. That's that fire and brimstone.
They said, Eddie, we want you to just be Eddie.
Just
Eddie,
be you.
Just be Eddie Murphy, and then we're gonna do the donkey thing. That's funny.
That's always fun when you get to see people just being themselves. It's like, be your authentic self. Stop going out there and trying to act like somebody else. Yeah, you can tell. You can feel it. You don't have to even
You can't feel it. That's a good way to say it. You can feel it, man.
You can feel it when it's like, that's not you, dude. You're acting. You're playing a part. It's like, nah, you went in there and you did yourself. There's a few actors that do that where it's like they get on screen and it's like, oh, you just play yourself, man. That's who you are.
Robert Downey Jr. Comes to mind. He said that many times in his interviews. He was like, Tony Stark, it's me. You know, I just show up. They start rolling the cameras and that's what we do.
Nah, I'm just playing me. That's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah. Who's the same in every movie?
This guy comes to mind.
Ben Stiller to me.
Ben Stiller, yeah. Kind of the same you know who's the same in every movie is Nicolas Cage. Every single movie, this dude is the same person.
Well, the thing with Nick is like he
has no range.
Well, his range is the only range he has is how crazy he is. But it's the same character, but it's just different degrees of crazy.
He's the same.
Nick Cage, man. What's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
Face Off.
I love Face Off. Dude, the scene in Face Off with that James Brown tune, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. Oh, yeah. When he first gets in, he goes into the their house and he's hanging around and they're playing that.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Oh, man.
That's classic to me.
That's a good one. Another Nicolas Cage. I love me some National Treasure now. I love me some National Treasure. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
I've never seen that whole movie. My family has seen it.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. A lot of people are clamoring for a third movie in the series.
I did not like
for years.
I did not like the Da Vinci Code.
I never saw that. I never read it.
There was a swirling controversy about if you should or should not watch it because at a time, see, the concept of the Da Vinci Code is that Leonardo da Vinci was in the know of certain information that had to do with Jesus, and he was part of a group that understood that Jesus had offspring and his family lives on forever, and that became very controversial. And it was like, don't watch that movie. I'm like,
you're talking about in the Christian community?
Yeah, no, and that aside, I'm like, the movie just wasn't that good to me. Like, I seen it, and I'm like, I think you guys worried about the wrong thing. It's not that great of a movie to begin with.
What's a universally loved movie that you don't think is great? It's a good question.
I might have to come back to that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think quickly, but I don't want to just sit here quiet.
Like movies that people are like, dude, are you kidding me? That movie's amazing. I'm like, that movie sucks. I'd have to think of one.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough
I could think, if I stop and think, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just different type of funny movies that like a lot of people thought were hilarious.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'll tell you one here that we're going to differentiate.
Okay.
I never thought Ace Ventura, no, specifically Cable Guy. I never thought Cable Guy was all that funny. It wasn't for me.
I rewatched Cable Guy recently in the last couple months. I hadn't seen it in probably 10 years. And me and Bree watched it just randomly. I was like, you watch Cable Guy?
Was it funny?
Like, yeah. We cracked up.
Did you? Yeah, I that's one that I know a lot of friends.
When was the last time you saw it?
I saw it like around when it came out.
Yeah, agreed. But we were young, dude. So you watch it again.
I feel like I would have been goofier though. I've been more susceptible to goofy comedy than now today.
Well, the thing is, Cable Guy is there's some goofy in it, but there's a lot of really smart, dramatic things happening in that movie. It was shot really well too. Watch it again. You might change your mind. But yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, it's like Jim Carrey. A lot of people don't think Jim Carrey is funny.
I like them in Liar Liar.
Love Jim Carrey.
I like them in
Jim Carrey.
I like them in Sonic.
He was
I
great.
thought he did real good there.
You know why? It seemed like Jim was just being Jim Carrey. They were just like, don't try to play a character. You're Dr. Robotnik. Just be Jim Carrey, but with a big mustache and a little bravado.
Sonic was better than I thought it was going to be. And I already kind of went in there kind of like, I'm going to like it. And I liked it even more like that. I was like, this is a really good movie.
I enjoyed it. We saw it. We saw it in the theater.
I liked it. My kids loved it. And they're not as familiar as I am with the series. So it was great.
I know a couple of TV shows that are universally praised that I did not like. And I thought, we're like, what are we talking about? Here's a show that my wife and her family and a lot of people think is very, very funny. That to me is like am I on a different planet, is The Big Bang Theory.
I am familiar with this. I've not seen a single episode, but I'm familiar with a little bit of the characters and I've seen snippets here and there.
The Big Bang Theory, yes. Sound off in the comments if you enjoy The Big Bang Theory, because to me, it is the dumbest thing I've ever watched in my life, and it all falls flat. Oh, you just don't get it, Matt. You know what's funny about a lot of these sitcoms, and this is a great YouTube search. These are really fun. Shows that have laugh tracks, type the name of the show and say no laugh track.
Yeah.
Put in The Big Bang Theory, no laugh track on YouTube, and tell me how much you're laughing. Or are you laughing just because you're supposed to be laughing, dude? Because it just is so
That's a good social experiment, too. It's like, do you like Seinfeld if you turn off the laugh track?
Do you like Exactly.
Is it still as funny?
And
some people find it very distracting. Some people don't like a show because of the laugh track.
Think about the show Scrubs. You ever watch Scrubs?
Part of it.
Very, very funny show.
The first season or two.
I thought it was very funny. No laugh track in that. The Office. We love The Office. A lot of people don't like The Office.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it.
It's a very divisive show.
We just call those people weird.
Yeah, strange. Very strange people.
The Office is funny, man.
We were before the show. We were talking. I was doing a little dissertation about music to Tony. I was telling him about, musicians, what music, like hardcore musicians find very technically proficient, and then if nobody knows what they're actually doing, like a lot of jazz music, people that are aren't educated in those ways are like, what am I listening to? To each their own, man. To each their own, dude. But yeah. Here's another one, The Walking Dead.
I try to watch it, and for me, I've said this before. I think we grew up in an era where zombies were really popular, like in the 80s and stuff. There was a lot of zombie movies and the zombie thing, and Michael Jackson did the whole zombie thing.
There was a resurgence here in the mid.
And I kind of feel like when they came back out, I was like, I've seen zombies. Like I don't know. Some people love it. Like apparently, there's a really deep story and betrayal and love and back and forth.
That show has been on a long time now. It's starting to get to the point where it's been on for a long time when you're like, that show's still in the air. Like they're still doing Walking Dead. There's new episodes.
There's new episodes.
I enjoy the first season of The Walking Dead, and then it's like, and now this might just be a Matt thing. It is a Matt thing. I'm not a big fan, and we've had this discussion many times, of these really just the episodic long storytelling TV shows, like a Game of Thrones, like a Walking Dead, and to a certain extent, I'm going to get a lot of flack here, The Mandalorian. These kind of shows where the production value is incredible, the acting is usually pretty damn good, but like this whole dangling a carrot in front of me at the end of every episode and just kind of this drip feed over 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, I'm like, I just usually can't get into it. So I watched Game of Thrones. I had never seen that until a couple years ago. And they were like, you got to get on the Game of Thrones. My dad, are you kidding me? Got to go watch Game of Thrones. My buddy Ben, dude, Game of Thrones. Oh, you would love it. Meh. It's good. The first season was very good, and then I lose interest. Like I lose interest on these shows.
Well, I like Game of Thrones, and I took like a 2-year break from it and didn't watch like the anything in between, just because I got drained. I got tired of it. It's like overload or whatever. I like it a lot though. It's cool.
It's like during the Mandalorian second season that we just got finished with a couple months ago. Like towards the end of the season, Mandalorian season 3, Pedro Pascal returning and all this, and I'm like, oh, there's no stakes in these shows. Why are you letting it out of the bag like that?
Telling a story already that you kind of already have most of the gaps filled in.
Yeah, man.
And you're not adding new information really besides just the new characters. Like,
yeah,
I like it a lot. I like The Mandalorian a lot. I think it's great. I think
I do too. I enjoy
a lot of the
I enjoy it.
The praise it received was well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of the content now, from now on, just streaming is going to be that way. A lot of carrot dangling, a lot of that nonsense.
Dude, I'm just so blown away by. My wife loves the Netflix originals, and we're always trying to find the next one. There's just so many now, and now you can get, foreign shows and films with subtitles. All the Netflix originals that you don't even know about, dude. There's a whole slew. I mean, every country's doing it, and you can watch their shows. Super high production value on these shows, and you're like, oh, this is crazy. I just got to read a little bit. So it's just wild streaming now, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
No. And I'm still, the streaming aside, I still buy some stuff that I like, just to keep it, because now The Office went off air, right?
Peacock, baby.
Yeah, forget that. I'll just buy the series on Blu-ray. I'll do it that way. I think that's what makes the most sense to me. I'm not getting all these streaming services to watch one show forever. Lately, I've been watching Cheers all over again.
Oh yeah, how's that going?
That's good. That's good. It's funny. It's a good breakup of watching The Office 400 times. Or Frasier was the Office Frasier.
Are you finding anything in Cheers? Because that's definitely before our time when it was in its heyday. Mm-hmm. Are you finding any of the content within Cheers politically incorrect? I don't know. I'm just because that's the thing these days,
I'm
right?
not on season 2 and not yet.
Nothing that you're like, that's
I
pretty,
didn't know that. Oddly enough, I was like, there's no black characters in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was made today, they'd make sure there was the black character, the gay character, the Asian character. They'd make sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now in that show there was all from Boston white people, which is fine. It's funny. I'm just to your point. That's the only thing that would be different today.
We watched the Sandra Bullock film Miss Congeniality like a year ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And me and Bree watched it, and we were watching it, and there was like a lot of like jokes that fell so flat, not because it just didn't seem it just seemed very dated with the whole sexist stuff and some of the stuff. It just wasn't even well written sexism. So I just felt a lot of it felt really awkward and out of place. But like I'm kind of in the middle. I'm like, well, Disney's doing these disclaimers on Disney.
That's
Plus
what I was gonna say. It's like
with Dumbo and stuff, and I'm
this movie contains
what is their wording?
It's just something like this movie contains old material that may not be suitable today or something like that.
Yeah, what is it? Because I'd like to hear their verbiage, because it always makes me laugh how these things are so surgically and clinically written.
Yeah, but it's bottom line that I don't want to say Googling all day because I can't even think of enough to get it in one shot. But it's that. It's like it's a disclaimer. The following footage contains humor and jokes that are not suitable for today's environment. That's not sensitive to today's issues or whatever. So I guess the question is this necessary?
Here we go. It's a content warning. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. The new label reads, these stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. Times have changed, people.
I will let you answer for yourself. I think I know your answer, but is that disclaimer necessary from your point of view?
From my point of view, no. I don't think it's necessary because, well, first of all, as an adult, I know that. I kind of understand that. And if my kid is going to watch the movie, I'm a parent, and I will address things if needed, because that's my role as a parent.
That's how I feel.
I don't need the whole trigger warnings and disclaimer, all this stuff. I had a wonderful, and I've mentioned him to you many times. I had a wonderful, wonderful instructor at TCC, English professor, and he was very woke, as they say, and he was young, and he loved provoking that kind of discussion in the classroom. Are these kind of things needed? And he really was right in the middle, and he really wanted us to decide. So we just had some awesome, heated freaking arguments, dude. The old man, I went to school a couple years ago, you know what I mean, with these 18 and 19-year-olds. I'm like, you don't know shit. You haven't even lived yet. But one of the discussions, excuse me, was about, are these warnings necessary, in your opinion? Because, of course, a lot of people feel as though, yes, they're warranted and they're needed. And I don't necessarily feel that way, but it's not for me to decide.
When I saw that...
Doesn't hurt anything.
When I saw that, it doesn't hurt anything is where I would kind of argue.
What is it hurting?
I saw that and asked, how much more coddling do we have to do to society? Hurt doesn't always necessarily mean you are hurting somebody's feelings. I think we are hurting. No, but I think we are hurting in the way that we are becoming a weaker-minded society. That we should need to be with kitty gloves on every single thing. I think it does hurt society over time. I think there's a thick skin that we did have We talked about this before, where something was at one extreme, and then to correct it, we took it to a whole different extreme. Instead of bringing it a few steps further and fixing that, no, now we not only fixed it, we've made it worse.
Yeah, we've overshot it.
And I think
that's a fair statement.
I think this is a level where, yes, it was necessary to make some change and understand and learn and say, you don't talk to people a certain way like that anymore.
Sure.
But to sit here and say that, hey, get ready, you might be offended, I think you're hurting society. I think you're coddling people.
Well, you're not letting them choose because somebody would say, well, now you're preemptively, you're kind of saying, hey, you might get offended. So now it's in my brain now.
And you tell them I should be offended.
I'm going to get offended now.
You tell them I should be offended. I've said that before. I was like, I don't like when society tells you what you should be offended by. Yeah. We debated the Washington Redskins team name switch or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my point was, as a person that doesn't have a dog in this fight, because I don't follow the team and I don't follow football specifically as much as I used to, I asked, are the Native Americans upset? Or is this a group of people saying you should be upset?
The left.
Legitimately asking the question, because I don't know. Because society does a good job at that. Telling you what you should be offended by.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't like that. So when I saw the disclaimer, I thought that. I'm like, how much more coddling are we going to do to society?
When you really listen, like when you listen to the verbiage here, I mean, it right off the bat, it tells you. Where is it?
We find this offensive and so should you.
This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of, like it does. Mm-hmm. And these stereotypes were wrong, and they are now.
And they might be 100% right in their definition. It might be, but you should be able to make your thought and give people the credit of understanding that this movie was made when?
That's made in the 50s, guys.
You watch it and you see, like, that's crazy that the people used to joke that way.
It's nuts.
Go back and watch the celebrity roast from like Frank Sinatra's days and how they used to joke around with black people on camera.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
Like, it's just, you watch it and you're like, man, that's wild they used to joke that way. In some ways, it's like, well, you can joke with your friends different ways. They might have that relationship to where you can cut deep with the joke like that. They might. But today in society, it's like, in the general sense, there's just certain things you don't say out, like, in publicly like that. Like, you joke with your friends how you want to joke, but you should be a little more responsible with the platform. Like, we've learned that over time. It's like these platforms are incredibly powerful.
You know what? This comes to mind here locally in Virginia Beach. Do you remember this happened? This was a long time ago. This is when I was like in high school because I was performing down there at the oceanfront with the Beach Street group, 6 nights a week. And I remember the summer they put up the signs, the no cursing signs.
Yeah, that's silly.
I remember seeing that going, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, no, there was
being disorderly, and you'll get wrapped up by a cop. But like, really?
Yeah, no. I remember at one point they were like, "It's illegal to curse at the oceanfront. It's not illegal to curse."
Yeah, at the oceanfront. Like I guess we're gonna go down this rabbit hole today. It's like, dude, censorship and outrage and telling people they should be outraged. This whole thing. But that just reminded me of that. And to this day, I mean, I was a 14-year-old kid, didn't know anything, haven't lived a life yet, and I remember going, something feels off here. Like I felt it then, you know what I mean? As a young
people
young
are getting
kid.
canceled left and right.
Oh man,
because of the outrage. I don't like the outrage in retrospect either. I'd be careful with that because there's some things that maybe you didn't complain about many years ago that you have every right to complain about today. But a lot of things like jokes, for example. If you told a joke that back then was fine and then today's in poor taste, do we now hop in our time machine and say you're canceled today because you told this joke 20 years ago?
That's the next big thing.
I think it was Kevin Hart, was it? Or like Charlamagne on Hot 97 that was like, so you don't give people room to grow? You don't give them room to gain new information and say, man, like I wouldn't tell that joke again today. You don't give them the opportunity to do that. Do we sit there and sift through YouTube and Twitter and say 20 years ago you tweeted a joke about this and it's like, yeah, but I wouldn't make that joke today. Like, I don't joke that way today. Like, I might have said that many years ago, but do I not have room to grow?
Are they coming after comedians for jokes they told on the internet, or are they coming after? I don't see much of that. Is my point. I'm seeing a lot of, who's James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. That big thing. He got canceled for something he said on Twitter.
Well, they went after
Kevin. It was an opinion.
But they went after Kevin Hart for a joke.
Did they?
He had told the joke a long time ago.
He was going to host the Academy Awards, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was something to the effect of like,
I don't know enough to talk.
He said something like, if my kid asks for a dollhouse, I'd say no and like break the house or whatever. And they're like, how could you? And it's like, it was a joke. Of course, I'm not going to break a dollhouse. Like the fact that you got to explain the joke and then to explain also that happened years ago. It's just like, I don't like where society got with that. It's like, give people room to grow. On the other side, you saw that they're canceling Marilyn Manson. He's got accusations of sexual abuse and stuff like that.
People.
That's a real careful thing too. It's like we don't know. Well, only God and those two people know what happened there. A lot of times, it's like we believe women, and we don't ask questions. I don't necessarily agree with that because I'd like the benefit of the doubt if something should happen to me. I don't want one person just being listened to.
Well, I think that's the thing is you're so close to just being canceled with one wrong comment.
Well, Marilyn Manson immediately got his record deal revoked.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't gone to court. There haven't been anything like officially, and he already got it revoked. I'm like, can we at least wait to go to court and get some evidence presented, something? I think we're too quick with that, man. And I like to treat people like, and here's the thing, I don't want to sound insensitive.
You can't even be like associated with certain things, even you know what I mean, and you're canceled.
I got female friends from high school and times from long ago and from workplaces that would get really upset and say, how could you, we believe, these women, we always believe them. I get that 100%. But there's a due process, and I like to kind of put my people in, put my feet in other people's shoes. And like, before I judge, I want to give people the same level of patience that I'd like to receive if something happened with me. I don't want to immediately go quick to judge, because like if something happened with me, I don't want everybody else being quick to judge. Mm-hmm. That's actually what we're taught in the Bible. Judge not lest you be judged. And that just means that you're going to be judged. But if you're running your mouth, you're going to be judged by the same way you judge others. That's it. Like if you were quick to jump on everybody else, don't get surprised when they jump on you. Like that's the way it is. So it's interesting. I don't like that cancel stuff. Give people room to grow, but hold people accountable. I'm down for that. It's just never a hard and fast rule. Like, dude, you gotta.
It's crazy. One of my favorite comedians and podcasts that I listen to, Chris D'Elia, and the whole Chris D'Elia thing went down. If you don't know what happened, he was a Twitter user, a young female. She's like 22 now. She randomly one night got on Twitter and started accusing D'Elia of, what'd you call it? She was underage, and he was like heckling her and trying to get after her. I guess you would just call that just he was trying to hook up with underage chicks. So she came out with all this, and then out of the woodwork, a lot of women started piling on and saying, "Yeah, me too, me too, me too."
Did he ever have his day in court?
No.
So that's unfortunate.
Well, what's crazy is that, dude, I'm telling you, let me be very freaking clear here. If the allegations are true, that is absolutely disgusting, and he should absolutely have the justice system do what the justice system does. I'm not condoning this at all. I'm just saying he came out with evidence contrary to that, and he found that these emails that these girls were doing were only parts of these emails, and he had them too, and his agent was like, actually, here's the entire transcription, and this is what really happened. And even then, that dude is freaking canceled. He is gone, not a freaking pea. It's like he died. Overnight he died. If it's true, that's disgusting, and he should be canceled. Yeah. But I don't think I don't know. Who knows?
And I get it. To play this is not even devil's advocate. The other side of the coin on this is that, yes, for a long time, women were not believed. For a long time, women across the board were seen as property.
Sure.
And this isn't, to go back to the thing, you go back to old movies, sitcoms, and everything. It was a regular thing to, like, what do they call it? Catcall women and really harass them and catch them at night, and just, hey, baby, come with me or whatever. Like,
Congeniality, Miss Congeniality.
This isn't comedy, movies, and all that stuff. I get it. But going back to what we talked about, we can't go too overcorrect to the point that now, since they were silent for so long, their voice is the only one that matters. We all matter. And everybody should get their time to speak up and let the truth reveal itself, and not necessarily just, since we were ignored for so long, now we can say whatever we want, and we don't want to hear anything anyone else says. Because life goes in cycles. Life goes in cycles. The same way your voice didn't matter and yours does today, a few years from now, your voice might not matter again, and you're going to wish that there was a little bit of compromise in between. Just to get the truth out and have a little patience. It's tough. It's a horrific thing to go through that stuff, but let people grow.
Yeah.
Are you, that's it, right? We're good? Let people grow. That's it. I'm Tony.
I'm Matt.
This is the Tsunami Podcast.
Later, dudes and dudettes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Boom!